Sorry, I started a little late here. I was last minute setting up new stuff that I didn't expect to get, but I managed to sell a bit of gear, and for some reason the FedEx man was good to me and was fast. So I have new modules just in time for tomorrow. Playing live, kind of playing live, maybe jamming. I don't know what it's turning into. Whatever it is, I'm terrified. So I'm gonna do a whole bunch of practicing here. So I tore out a bunch of the old voices, some of the old voices, replaced some of them, rewired some things, took advantage of the Octalink here actually to make it easier for me to patch this back together tomorrow, because I'm going to have to disconnect these two to transport them and then patch everything back together. So the more things that I can carry over a single cable, the better. But even so, I'm going to have to take a picture or something. We'll see how this goes. So, since I have destroyed everything and put it all back together, I figured maybe it would be best to just go through all the voices again. And we may build another one out here. I don't really have the cables for it, but we'll see whether I decide to do that or what the deal is. The main things that I removed were some of the, I changed up some of the patching or the voicing for the morphogene samples, and I removed one of the extra rings things that was going on. But, so, let's do this piece at a time, shall we? Let's do this guy first, actually. Mute. Okay, so that weird little footsteppy sound that you're hearing, I think is actually new. So what that is the assimilator. There's a sample here, this weird footstep sample, but it's actually set up in zones. There's a whole bunch of footstep samples that are all on this stony type of footsteps. Set up a zone that contains all of these samples. There's like 7 of them, and it's randomly picking one of them every time it's triggered. That is going out of channel 3 and into the Endorphins Milky Way. So you better than the presidential address? Yes, I would hope so. Really, I would hope so. Because if it's not, then just like someone delete my Twitch account, please. But yeah, that's going into the Milky Way. The Milky Way is in tape delay mode, and we are modulating the delay time, I think, but this mode confuses me, with just a random value coming from Pam's new workout. That is going out. And where is it going again? Oh yeah, it's going out, and it's going to, in stereo, it's going to the left side of one of the Axis crossfaders down here. I originally had something else on the right-hand side. I might move something around, I don't know. Right now it's a convenient volume knob, so worst case I could just unpatch all this and put it directly into 8, but we'll see. Now it is being triggered. This is the hard one to follow. This pink cable right here, obviously I had to rearrange my desk too, so the camera positioning is a little off, but this pink cable is going back through the Octalink, and it's coming out down here as this gray cable, which is just going down to Pam's at a random trigger out, basically. I think it's a Euclidean with some amount of random skip, if I recall. So that's that. I think it's pretty cool because it's very variable. Something about the way we modulate the tape sound makes it very different sounding every so often. So the Milky Way, I don't know. I argue with myself about it a lot. It is nice because it's a lot of different effects in it, but some of the effects are really hard to use. I think the main problem is that I would not buy the Milky Way if you want delays. It's not, like, the delays are okay, but they're not great. Yes, it's definitely not intuitive. I have to pull out the manual every time to remember what light each thing is, but the other effects in it are interesting and useful, but I don't know. I may or may not keep it. I've changed my plans a little bit and might end up getting a Mimeophone, so it's all gonna, I need to do some more patching where I'm using non-delay effects with the Milky Way. Like, because I've done a few streams ago where, a number of streams ago now, I used the distortion effect a whole bunch, and that was really nice. But yeah, it's I'd give it like a 6 to 7 out of 10. It's also cheap though for the number of effects you get, which is nice. Unlike, like, there's other comparative modules like the Happy Nerding FX Aid is supposed to be much better, but like I think that's like a homebrew thing that some guy makes and there's never any in stock, so you know, good luck. Okay, so that was voice 1. This, hopefully you remember from last time, but I'll go through it real quick. This was the thing that, I think maybe it was you, Dobofus, that got me to build out the Telharmonic patch. This is the Telharmonic patch. It is on one side of the crossfader. I'll show you the other side of the crossfader, but this Telharmonic patch is ultra complicated. Oh, it wasn't you. Who was it? Somebody at the last stream made me build out a Telharmonic patch that turned out fantastic, which is what you're hearing. So this was Telharmonic as usual in its shift register mode. The D gate is coming just from a random Euclidean gate from PAMS. The degree is just coming from a sample and hold random value. The cool thing about it is that, so we've got H and P out. You can only just see it. Let's see. Ugh. Adjust these cameras a bit. Let's see if I can get this a little better. Yeah. H and P out here. Both of these sounds are going out through a VCA and then being mixed together. I'll talk about the VCA in a minute. These come out through QPass. The Smile Pass out from QPass goes into clouds in dual looping delay mode, I believe. No, in granular mode actually, I think. No, that's dual looping delay mode, yeah. And then that comes out in through the crossfader. The complicated thing about this is the modulation. There's a lot of modulation going on in this, but most of it is controlled down here by the planar. So the planar has multiple things going on. It's got 2 different LFOs. One's a triangle, one's a sine from Pam's workout coming into the A and C inputs, different rates. And then all of its outs are controlling, X and Y are controlling the rotate controls of QPass. A, where does that go again? I'm gonna have to remember these things too. A is controlling the frequency of QPass, but A isn't a static value because because A has a LFO going into it. It's just whether we output the LFO onto A, so I can give it a little bit of movement on the filter. B is having some voltage added to it, and then it's actually going in to attenuate CV value, the CV values for the VCAs, which does this sort of effect. Sort of a very subtle, is it vibrato or tremolo? We're just bouncing the volume of both H and P at the same time. So, as contrasted with the filter sweep, and this is like a sort of volume bounce. And then C, we're controlling the centroid of Telharmonic, which, oops, C. Just lets us change the timbre a bit. D is controlling frequency 2 of QPass, which QPass has like 2 sort of frequency notches, so it's a bit of a subtle change. And again, we have these 2 different LFOs coming in here. So C and D are getting the values for C and D are basically that LFO scaled by how much I'm towards C or D. That's why it goes. And then same thing for A. And then we're taking the mix value, which is the combination of all of A, B, C, and D. So it all depends on where we're at in here. And that is controlling the texture on clouds. Yes. Yes, indeed. It's a good thing I didn't sell the tail harmonic. The CSL, maybe. I don't know. It's great. It's complex. I find it hard to get sounds out of. It may just be my inexperience. I'm still going to give it more of a try. That one's the Milky Way is on the chopping block far before the CSL would be on the chopping block. Is that it? Is that all the modulation? Yes, that is all the modulation. So my plan is at the show tomorrow, I'll be spending a lot of time while this is playing just messing around with the planar values, and probably at some point if I get distracted, I need to look at other things, I will just record something in here quick and then just have it playing back so that it's still variable to some degree. And then the other thing that I'm going to do with this is actually start with degree turned down quite significantly, and possibly with interval purely on octaves. And then I figure that I can sort of, I've got to write down all the different interval settings, but I'm going to try using octaves and fifths, and major, so that hopefully we can start with this, and then eventually we'd move over to major here, and then bring up the degree, which will start getting the D gate to choose higher notes. So it sort of progresses over time. That's the current plan. A sample of some fun. That could be interesting, actually. I wonder. Yeah, I'll see about that. Only problem being, of course, that if I trigger it from a gate from planar, if I decide to use planar, if I decide to play, like record something and play planar, I don't think that you can. Yeah, you can't trigger the gate manually while it's playing. I think it's based on whatever you recorded at the time, so I need to find another trigger source, but I mean, I've only got like 500,000 of them in here, so. Okay, so that's that voice, which is on one side of the crossfader. I need a big red button. Yeah, really, right? The other side of the crossfader is something that we did a few streams ago. This whole sound. So I'm probably gonna start with manually triggering this a bunch with some other stuff that I'll show in a bit, and then fade into this, and then at the end fade back out into just this thing. That's my plan. So all that is it's just a sample from a simulator that we made 3 or 4 streams ago, which was comprised of a whole bunch of complicated stuff that I don't even remember now. But it sounds good, so that's good. And I didn't lose it, which if anyone else has an assimilator and knows about this, I've noticed that sometimes when I've recorded things, I come back the next day, and even though I've saved my preset, they're in the list, but they're inaccessible because the file's not there. And I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong or what's going on, but I've lost a few things that way. It's been annoying. I think actually even last stream we had to I tried to regenerate the chord sound, and I did, and then it disappeared again, but I don't. Clouds is in use, I don't want to mess with it. I'm not going to regenerate it again. Okay, so then on to the other sounds. We have... I'm going to fade this one out. So this interesting one. Speaking of recording, I saw a recent distinct update fix some waveform. Yes, it did. I have not had a chance to try it yet, but it sounds a lot like it fixed the problems that I was having. So yes, that's on my list. But now I'm at the point where I literally have 2 HP left in my rack. I need to like sell some things and downsize them, but like, it's nice. And not as much opportunity for dust to get in. Okay, so this sound was Morphogene. Ages ago, we recorded a kalimba sample into a slice on Morphogene, ages ago, on one of these streams. And all we're doing is playing it back and modulating the hell out of everything again. 2 HP cat, yeah. I need a 2 HP ARP. That's what I might do at some point here. We'll see. But yeah, so this is being modulated. The gene size, the morph, the slide is all, and the vary speed is all being modulated. It comes in through the Octa link so that I don't have to patch things too much. But all of that comes from the TET and the tetrapad, which I have set up here in with a little sequence, a bunch of randomly generated voltages, little sequence. The trick with this is that I set it up so that I can start looping pieces of it if I want to, and start randomly moving the point of a loop. So we already have loopy. We talked about that in a previous stream, so I can just hit that, and now we're looping 5 steps. But the other thing that I did is new with this module, the select. Select is essentially 3 linked, if you want to, switches, either 2 to 1 or 1 to 2 switches. Linked in that by default the topmost one will actually control the state of all the ones below it, as you can see here, which is kind of nice in snares, kind of annoying in snares actually, but luckily you can bypass it by just patching a little empty cable. So what I've done is I've separated these bottom 2 switch types by patching a cable into the bottom one. So now I can change both of these independently of each other. This one still controls the one below it too, but we're not going to use the top one for now. So all I have in here is we're doing a 2 to 1 switch. So there's one signal and an empty slot, and both of those combine, or both of those are going into the X input of TET, and X is being set to control the loopy position. So right now you can see it's looping the same 5 steps, but if I switch this, now I've got a random value from Pam's new workout coming in to just randomize the loop start. It's still 5 steps, it's still the same sequence, so it should be relatively familiar, but it changes things up a bit. This is kind of my first experiment with using switches as like easy change things. It would be better if I set this up, I guess, to simultaneously turn on looping and change the loop position, but it's okay. I can very easily just turn it off, right? Just one button pressed down here. And yeah, I'm not even using the second half of tetrapad. Originally, we were using the second half of voltages to do a bunch of modulation of a second rings, but I pulled that out because it didn't sound very good. So that's that. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. She's been a brat. Okay. Then that is on an AB switch on Performance Mixer with another sound. So this one is pretty complicated too. Actually, probably the most complicated of all of them, but I thought this sounded really, really good. And I'm gonna keep this patch idea before. So the base of this sound is actually plats in essentially green rings mode, going out into a rings in orange rings mode as a resonator. And then I believe we just go straight out, if I recall. Yeah, then that's it, straight out. So it's actually a relatively simple sound. I turned up the dampening quite significantly to get a really drawn out sound from rings. And so what we've got playing right now is actually a sequence from the vector sequencer, but for this patch I decided I wanted to use both the select and the maze to put some variation in. So I'll sort of, can you self-patch rings to do the same? Well, I mean, you could like take the odd output of rings and patch it back into itself, but you'd get a feedback loop very quickly. Anything that you could get out of even would just blow your eardrums out. But I could patch one version of rings into the next version of rings, since I have 2 of them. That would be fine. But I was experimenting around with sounds for plats coming in through rings, and I suddenly stumbled upon this and was like, wow, this sounds really good. It's almost like it filtered it in some way. It's made it much warmer. But anyway, so the way that this is working is, thank you. Primarily, there is a trigger coming from marbles and a voltage coming from marbles. It's set in that weird like drum pattern mode, just gives it a bit more familiarity. We actually have 2 sets of voltages, one that's coming from marbles, one that's coming from the vector sequencer. We've dropped those into channel 2 of the select. So again, it's a 2-to-1 thing. So I can swap with a switch back and forth between the 2 different voltages. So I can go from the current sort of loopy sound that we get and go into, which is marbles, and it's locked with some amount of deja vu, so you get a slowly evolving pattern, but then there's like a home base to come back to. Yeah, I could totally see that, like Encounters of the Third Kind, yeah. So my plan is to sort of use this sequence you're hearing right now as a home base starting and an ending point, and then eventually, as things get more complex in the patch, start to switch into this marbles version, and maybe even just do a little bit of like throw a few notes from the other sequence in, drop back, which I think is really cool. I'm really excited for all the hands-on stuff that I have here to just like, I don't know, for me there's something about being able to be hands-on with an instrument, but not simultaneously having to have all that music theory knowledge and all of the background to be able to like keep it sounding good. I'm really liking that I can throw a few extra things in there, and I know that everything here is keeping it like in time, in key, etc. It's so cool. I wish I'd found modular years ago, although I never would have been able to afford it. Anyway, so that's how the voltage works. The only other thing is that we're multing out the, sorry, I should say the volt per octave for the CV. We're multing out the volt per octave on the CV. It goes both to plats and to rings, so that we're keeping the resonator and plats in the same tune, ideally, if rings has decided to stay in tune today. I think it has. Then the triggers get a little more complicated. So marbles trigger is actually going into Maze. So if you don't know what Maze is a matrix. There's a name for it, but it's similar to the sequential switch matrix that SSM has, but smaller and with more capabilities. It's essentially you've got 4 inputs, you got 4 outputs. You can mash together any of the inputs against any of the outputs in any way that you want. So you can like take the first 2 channels, combine them, send them into outputs 1 and 4, or like any combination of the above. You can buy more than one of these modules and chain them together to make like 4x8s or 8x4s or all sorts of other craziness like that. But what I'm using it for here is actually just to provide some rhythmic differences. So right now we're in sort of the preset mode, and there's basically like 16 presets and then 7 banks of them. But I can switch between these presets, including like one like this, where there's no triggers whatsoever. It's only triggering because if the volt per octave changes against rings. But in this mode, if we press the funk button, you go into C2. So this is like the preset that I've chosen. I hit the funk button, and now you're in the what is routed to what setup. So right now I have the rows are inputs and the columns are outputs. So I have row 1, so input 1 routed to output 1. Very simply, you can set a VCA on this as well. Oh, not a VCA. Well, it is a VCA, but you can't control it with a CV value or anything like that. So you can hit this and change. You can see it says 99. Since we're sending a gate, there's no need for it to be anything other than 99. But you could use it to both attenuate, or like you can use it to attenuate any values you send in there. You can even make it negative, which is cool. So in this first, or I guess this preset's not the first one. In this one, I'm just sending channel 1, which is just marbles. So it's very simple, it's just marble sequence. But if I switch, you're only really gonna subtly hear it. Let's change it to. So all I have is another Euclidean sequence from Pam's new workout going into channel 2. And if we look at it in Func now, we're saying combine channels 1 and 2 as inputs and send them to output 1. So now I'm getting an extra set of gates just to vary things up a little bit. And I might even take more outputs from other places and add them in here just to give some other rhythmic variation and stuff like that. But then I can go back, and that cuts out the extra gates, and now we're just dealing with the original what marbles had, and that's it. So yeah, I've been very much waiting for Maze. I think it's going to have many uses, and I am just barely scratching the surface because I just got it today. So, and even I like the idea of Maze plus select, because you can essentially make Maze, just one Maze module, into a 4 input and like 7 output setup if you want. Marbles needs to be in every rack. Yeah, it is very nice. But yeah, if I sent all 4 of these, or if I sent 3 of those outputs from Maze into select, then essentially I could do a whole bunch of mapping in Maze and then send that output to any one of 2 different places. But we're not using that right now. It's just ideas for the future. So, yeah, I really like how that sounds. So, let me go through the way. No, you cannot. I wish that they had made a little more dense of an LED, or, well, yeah, I guess it really is an LED rather than an LCD screen to a degree. It's hard to see when you look at like the settings pages, because other things that you can do with Maze is if you set up some preset with a whole bunch of weird routings, you can also have it morph between presets like a slew. There's an extra input called select here that you can use as a sequencer, so it can be like a CV value from 0 to 5 volts to select where you are in the pattern, or it can be completely random, or it can be a Euclidean pattern generator, or you can just send gates to advance, or like, it's got a lot of similarities in that respect to the way that you can sequence tet and tetrapad. So yeah, there's going to be all kinds of craziness going on here. I feel like I might need more modulation sources to really take advantage of this, but actually I have stages right beside it. Maybe I should use some of stages. I'm just going to patch something up because I'm curious about if I were to patch up let's do a full 8-step sequence, and we'll just put some gates in here. So then we would have this output, I guess, going into channel 3, I suppose. And then we just need to clock it with something. Running out of cables. We should probably clock it with the same clock that we're sending to everything. So I'm gonna make a really big stack cable, I think. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's use a mult. Or I guess we could just go off the end of that last stack cable from here. And into the gate. And hopefully that gives me what I thought it does. Yeah. I just need to make it so it doesn't slew. There. So now we've got another set of gates. So I could go into Maze here. And let's go to another preset. And in this preset, we will send 1. And we will also send channel 3. Yes. Maybe? Uh-oh, what have I done? So we're in that. It's that. This. So now we should get channels 1 and 3 going through the output, which should be the trigger. Just to be sure, I'm going to turn off channel 1. Maybe. Gotta read the manual again. I'm sure there's a faster way to do this than what I'm doing right now. Actually sound like yeah, we are. It's just it was too fast a trigger. Let's what have I done is all I seem to be saying while using the NerdSeek. I've never owned a NerdSeek. It's always seemed way too, I don't know, intense. But then again, I guess I don't have like if you have a background in those kind of, what are they called, trackers, right? It would be like the most familiar form factor. It's not bad? Okay, that's good to know. Still don't think I'll be even at my vector anytime soon. Not that I've like used it at all in this patch, surprisingly, but so that's interesting. Now I have an opportunity, like I have one thing here where I can start. We still get some of the sequence playing through because NanoRings is tracking the volt per octave and triggering when the volt per octave changes too, but we vary up some of the pattern by triggering plats independently. Okay, I like that. That was a good one. I've never actually thought of using stages as kind of like a, it's almost like voltage block, or not voltage block, its cousin, the varigate. Same idea, you have like these slidey gate things, or like IntelliGel sequencer. It's kind of actually a pretty cool idea to give me some more variety in here. Okay, but let's go with how I was gonna start this off. So, excuse me. So I think that I was going to start with this. I may start with like my own little sequence. Yeah, I oftentimes do as well. Not for precision stuff, but at least from a tactile perspective, I agree with you. I like sliders better. So start with something like this. Switch up the sequence again. Maybe just fade in one or two of those. It's too loud to start with that right away. The thwack sound is a bunch of footsteps, actually, that came in a default sample pack on the assimilator. Just put in a bunch of in a zone so that they randomly play different ones. Yes, me too. It's on my list for this summer. Change this up a little bit, and I'm going to put Morphogene on its own track because I think it's going to need some major volume control. Yes, I mean that's of course, the curse of modular in a lot of ways is so many people just make bleeps and fart noises. That's why I tend to lean away a lot from sound sources that are like. It's one of the reasons why I debate about the CSL. It is purely analog. It's hard to not get those sounds from it without really sculpting it. And yeah. Sorry, just give me one sec. Okay, that's fun. It's just, I got some news notification that apparently travel from the US to the US from Europe is going to be banned for 30 days. Interesting. That's going to affect coworkers. Oh well. Alright, so where were we? So I had Morphogene on a separate... Because I want to be able to fade it, and I need to turn the gain down to do that. Yep, you were right. Still sending to X2, yeah, okay. Oh, is it? It's post fader, okay. Then I can start looping it. While I go back to... I'm actually really liking this record a pattern so that planar can still provide some modulation. Then when you have time, come back to it and start modulating yourself. Maybe. I don't know if they'll let me. We'll see. I hope so. And it sort of depends too, because technically it's like an open stage thing tomorrow. There's other people who are like actually performing and like listed, and then there's an open stage thing, and sometimes they do that as like a jam with a whole bunch of people, which is what I was originally planning this for, but oftentimes it's just other people or people getting up and doing a little performance, so we'll see. I'm sort of trying to get my foot in the door at this place so that they'll take me to come back and play as one of like the quote headliners for, you know, for like 10 people, woohoo. But still, that'd be really cool. Okay, so then we can flip on the looping. Thank you. We'll see. I will report back by Saturday. By the way, you can see my last follower, DM Modular. I checked him out like a day or two ago. If you see him online, or you really just, you should go have a look at his channel and sub. He does a lot of the same stuff that I'm doing. He does some ambient stuff, but he's experimenting with techno stuff right now. But he's very talkative. He likes to talk about the modules. Yeah, I had a really good chat with him the other day, so check it out. Yeah, 1-year-old screaming would do it. Sample it, yeah, totally right. You could do all sorts of fun stuff with that, I'm sure. Like, I mean, at the very least, you can always do the whole Paul stretch thing. Have you heard of the Paul stretch program? I guess it's a program. Douchebag kid. Probably sell as well as the cat. Yeah, so Pulse Stretch is like this. You can, if you go Google it, you can download it. It's like a little app you run on your computer, and you feed it a WAV file, and it like uses a bunch of different crazy algorithms I don't understand to super stretch out the sound. So take like a 20-second WAV file and make it into something that's 20 minutes long or things like that. And it like, you know, so you get these really weird, like spectral, spooky, like stuff that comes out of almost anything you feed into it. Spoken word is especially interesting, I found. So like if you wanted just like a set of pads, it's great. It's so great. And you can like tell it to like, I want you to emphasize these harmonics, or I want you to like sort of like tune it down an octave, or you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, but like grain stuff in the extreme, like way more extreme than anything you'd find in modular, yeah. I've messed around with it before, but I haven't created a patch using something with it yet, just because it's, the only problem is it's like, I guess I could probably do it now because I have lots of filters, but it makes a really like all-encompassing across every band of the frequency spectrum sort of sound, so you really have to like cut places for other things to fit, right? Okay, so this is sort of, I think, where this patch would culminate, and then I start cutting from here. So I think I'll actually leave, I would leave Morphogene in place. Keep the modulation going on this. Probably cut back to just my stages pattern. And then my plan was to start fading back . Something like that. That's my plan. I don't know what you guys think it's, how it sounds, and whether I should fade out in a different way or something like that, but I think that I'm reasonably happy with that. It's sort of a, I don't know, tropey sort of thing where you build a whole bunch of stuff up and then take it all down, but I guess isn't all music tropey, so. I debate about whether I sort of leave Morphogene in at this point. I think it's better to maybe fade it like I did. I still had some of this going. It would be nice to end it on that with a little footsteppy sound, but that is a random gate, so I can't guarantee it's gonna work. But I mean, worst case, if it's sitting there and pausing too long, I can just cut the master, and then that'll be that. Could I slow morphogene down? You mean? Do you mean like the pace at which, for instance, TET is sequencing this? Maybe. How would I go about doing that? I've got, because it's being clocked by vector sequencer, so if I faded down vector sequencer's tempo, it's going to also fade down the tempo of the sequence that's playing from plats through rings. But let's see what that looks like. This is the only problem, is it's not going to control the sort of ringiness of... No, back. All right, let's try that. Let's try that fade one more time and just see. Because I did like that. I've actually never done a tempo fade out, which is... So this could be cool. Thank you for the suggestion. So we've gotten to this point. We've still got the footsteppy clappy sound. I do have to, if I can time it right, I think it works really well. Let me just see if I can get this here. Because yeah, if I can get it to go on that, then it works really well. Yeah. Thanks, Forresting. Yeah, this is something that I'll be doing live tomorrow. Hopefully, cross your fingers, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, doing that, because I mean, the BPM only goes as low as 5, but if I fade it out at the right spot and then stop, it works well. So let's just try this one more time. I need to start a little earlier. Didn't get as much of the BPM fade as I had. Let's see. Oh, that was too late, too late. That was more like it. You got your nifty bundle today. Nice. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Have you started playing with it yet? Yes, joy nights of frustration indeed. I have a person I know on Reddit who has sent me a few messages the other day saying that he's now ready to throw all his music gear out the window because it couldn't get it to do what he wanted it to do. And yep, that sometimes is the case. But then it's also the case that you find all sorts of creative different ways of doing things, which gets part of the fascination with modular for me. All right, I'm gonna try this one more time. We'll see what you have to say before scene. So, okay. Oh, that was too late. I have to start right when that first set of things comes in. That was not bad. I'm never going to get this perfect, I'm sure, but just calibrating a couple DIY modules. Also gotten case stuck in the US border forever. Are you in Canada too, Forrestine? Ha, lucky you. I'm over in Alberta, so not far from you. But yeah, I get that. You'll just never go to bed. Yeah, totally. I don't have as much troubles dragging myself away from it as I used to. That's mostly just because it gets, for me, it becomes simultaneously a creative and a logical endeavor. So I'm like, I feel like my brain is on like supercharge both sides at the same time. So it doesn't take very long before I'm like, whoa, done. Versus every other music thing I've ever done has been purely on the creative side and not so much on the, how do I make these things go together? Yeah, I had a, what the heck is it? Make Noises little black box thing. Is it Make Noise? I think it is. I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about. That was my first like semi-modular thing, and it was, yeah. Yeah, that thing, yeah. Maybe it's not Make Noise, but yeah. Yeah, your brain just craps out and it's time to stop. Yes. That is indeed the case. But it becomes that much more rewarding, I think, as a result. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring this back to the full symphony that I had going on here, which was this, this, and then we're gonna practice this fade out again here. So I think I was probably at the point of being this not in a loop. Right, okay, now I think we're in the state that I was at, so I would have been modulating this, put it on play so it's giving me some modulation on its own. And then I start fading, or wait, then I actually set this turn it down a little bit. I still feel like that transition is a bit too abrupt. Maybe I should be doing this earlier while I'm... Feels maybe it's a little fast. I could probably draw it out a lot longer, but the idea is okay. Yes, this thing is very nice. At the very least, it also, I think I've learned about the purpose of a lot of modules through being like, I need this. How do I do it? Oh, this thing has that. Now I can do it, but now I wish it had X, Y, and Z, and then I get a dedicated module. I think the only daunting thing to learn about it is just because it covers a lot of ground in terms of what you can do with it if you don't understand like what's a rectifier and stuff like that. That took me a bit to get the hang of, but like the actual operation of the module is not bad. And yeah, you need the manual around at all times, but you know. Yeah, there you go. Let's put this back up. I wonder if I... No, because I want to fade it on that sound, so I really need to... Oh yeah. Yeah, the manual's very, like, there's a table of contents in the beginning that has a list of all the functions. You find the one you want, you go to it. It immediately lists, like, what is, like, if you look at my listing here, like, what is X, Y, A, B, what do all these things do, what are the parameters, etc. You can also see the parameters if you, I think, press this button or something like that on it, but it, like, scrolls by one letter at a time, and you just, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about the YouTube videos. Yeah. That's also really, really helpful. And it's updated like all the damn time, so every time that I recall that, oh yeah, I should see if there's any firmware updates, inevitably this thing is always one of the ones that gets updated. They're too cool for instructions. Actually, I found the same thing with this Maze module. If you go on their website, they say like that there's this separate settings manual you should look at to determine how to set up all the settings for Maze. That doesn't exist. So if I go into settings mode here, I get this matrix of lights that mean different things, and I press on them and it will tell me things, but you can barely read it because of the low-res screen. So the same sort of idea. Okay, let me just... So we went from here. Still, it's too abrupt. I need something in between with this. Because I would be here in, oops, in major mode. Oh my god, really? A whole bunch of a lorem ipsum filler? That's kind of not nice. That worked better. Being able to, really liking having select to be able to just like, if I want to blend the two patterns, I can just start injecting little bits of the other pattern into it manually and then start injecting more and more. I suppose I could also do that with some sort of CV value, but I'm almost out of patch cables, so that's probably not going to happen. Respect them for giving up. I don't know about that. I feel like, though, I wish that I had a better place to trigger, a more ergonomic place to trigger the assimilator from. I'm just trying to think if there's somewhere... Like, I suppose I could just, like... Since I don't really use any of the tracks, and I'm just going to be going through global, I could use part 3 here in, like, through keyboard mode. And just... patch up the gate so that at least if I'm like, so I've got this is over here. Oh, I think that was the best one I've done yet. Hey, Mac. Yeah, I feel like it's just going to be random luck whether I get a good fade out on this or not, but I think it did work out nicely having things like that so that I have all my triggers in one place to do this sort of gradual switch over. I do kind of wonder if I could find a way of using select. Because so select has a CV in, so you can use the CV in to control the position of the switch. What I would sort of need is a gate for whom I can change the duration of the gate, I guess, and duration and frequency of the gates over time. And I'm not... What could I do that with? Because that would help me to automate this a little bit. Sample a good fade, yeah, right. It was funny, I watched some live performance, like demo video a while ago that was somebody, I can't remember who it was, but like their modular was an STS, like the dual sampler thing, and they just played preconceived tracks from their that they did in the studio, and just had a bunch of effects and other like envelope followers and stuff around it to make a like a live show that was like the studio but different. I thought that was kind of cool. I could with NerdSeek, really. How so? What does it let you do that would give me what I'm talking about? So you could handle the elongated gate times. I think if I use stages, I could make something where I can increase the gate time over time. Clone the sequence and let them build in the gate links. Well, I mean, that's also something I could do with the vector sequencer. If I really wanted to painstakingly take the time, I could make a bunch of sequences and just clone them and start changing the gate patterns and gate lengths and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't think I want to do anything that painstaking, because it's not that bad to just flip the switch and remember that it's got to be more and more, and it is more playable, I guess, as a result. So, but I guess the way I could do it with what I have here would be, if PAMs, one of the CV ins and PAMs, I think you can send that to the random skip chance. So you'd need that CV going to random skip chance, and that same CV would need to go out to stages to control the time, and we'd have the random skip gate from PAMs trigger envelope on stages that's just a single slider, so you can control the time of it. And you need it to gradually get longer in time while decreasing the number of random gates. So you'd have to invert that. Wow, this is get really complicated. I don't have the patch cables for this right now, but it's really interesting. Change the BPM to and maybe do something there. Yeah. I don't know. I think all of these ideas sound like they're going to be more trouble than just doing some switching. But it's an interesting idea, though. Okay, let me go back again, since... Yeah, because, so PAMs, I'm gonna double check. I only have one output left, but let's just see. So PAMs, if I have a random wave, or not, no, it's not a random wave. We need gates. And then I think that the random skip percentage chance, yeah, it can be a CV value, which I assume is probably 0 to 5, or is it go negative? No, CV1 is only positive, so it's 0 to 5 volts to control how many of the gates that are coming out skip. So it doesn't really, it wouldn't, you know, I guess it does make it random, but not the same. It's not like it's actually decreasing the quantity of gates in like a linear scalar fashion. It's just making it less and less likely that there would be a gate. Okay, you know, fine. Let's try this. Let's just see. Okay, so how the heck would we do this? I need a CV value that I can control. I can use an attenuator. Don't mind me off screen, I'm just patching in the duet for some manual CV control here. So, let's just make sure we're good here. So, not a divide 3, let's make this fast so that it becomes very obvious. So right now, I think random skip must be like 100%. We need a unipolar value, and I'm gonna turn this up. And it's still skipping everything. What sort of value does this need to? Output 6, yeah, let's just, I'm gonna reset this output just in case I miss, oh, it's muted, haha, that would do it. Or was it muted? No, it wasn't muted. Yes, it was muted, okay, good, that makes more sense. Okay, so with the voltage turned all the way down, it looks like our random skip chance is probably 0. The voltage turned all the way up. Yeah, now the random skip chance is 100%. Okay. You can assign CV to gate length. Yes, that would be handy. Okay, so now we have a knob that I can control up here that adjusts how few gates we have coming through. Now, that gate would need to trigger, or well, I guess that trigger, I should say. Well, actually, can I, maybe I can change the gate length here in PAMs. I might actually be able to. Width. Width sets the gate length. I can set width to CV2. So, okay. So with it all the way up, the width is infinite. With it all the way down, it's minimum width. So I need to turn this way down in terms of how fast it goes, but... Okay, so... I think I need a bipolar value here. Yeah, I do. Yeah, okay. Okay, so basically here, I'll let you see the upper part so that you can see what I'm doing, but there's two things from Duad up here. One is this pink cable is in bipolar mode and the white cable is in unipolar mode. The white cable is controlling the amount of randomness, or amount of random skip, I should say, and the pink cable is controlling the length of the gate that's generated. So, I don't have to use stages after all, I think. So if I then took this, and I sent it into the CV value, conceivably, for the second select input. Yeah, okay, so you can already hear it shoving in extra nodes, right? That are outside of the normal sequence. If I turn the gate length all the way up, that essentially moves us 100% into that sequence. And if I increase... Yeah, so, all right, so now we have two separate controls. We can control the number of gates, and we can control the length of those gates. And what I sort of need to do is go from absolutely zero, no gates whatsoever, and slowly start adding more and more gates that slowly get longer and longer until it's 100%. So how would I do that with the two voltages that I have coming in now? Let's see. So one voltage would be the bipolar one that's going to be gradually increasing to increase the length of the gate. The other one is the unipolar one, which is actually gradually decreasing. Ooh. It's too bad I can't assign like an inverted CV value in Pam's new workout. That would solve this immediately. Because otherwise I need two CV values, one that's unipolar and decreasing, and one that's bipolar and increasing. Yeah, me too. Solving these sort of like problems, so to speak, gets really interesting. And the other thing is too that like right now it's obviously not an optimal scenario. I have two. What I was doing to do this before was just flipping one switch. Now I have two knobs to do the same thing. So this would need to come from a CV source somewhere, like a very long envelope that I could trigger or something like that. Am I using, I'm using part of X on marbles, yeah. One of the outputs, why? Yes, that's true. I can adjust, but then I'd be messing up the pattern that I already have going into this. I've definitely got a system here that can adjust the gates in the way that I want. I just need one, or ideally a single or two sources of CV voltage that I can just like press a button and trigger a slow envelope that changes them. Like I wish I had a Zadar or something like that right now, right? Could use planar, but it's already patched. I guess I could use a track of, or a part of vector sequencer. If I set the part to be like, okay, let's try this. If I use like part 4, let's clear it out. And if I use velocity, because that's sort of a raw CV value, if I set this slow enough, Let's do a like 16 so we have lots of room, and we'll do like a, I don't know, quarter notes? Sure. And so let's just try this for the randomness, or well, no, let's do it for the gate length because that's the easier one. Oh, that's bipolar. This might not be able to be bipolar. Crap. Disting, yeah, right. Does Disting have a CV recorder? Because that's actually what I need, is a CV recorder. Because then I can just record the knob twists and then play it back. Let's have a look. Go through the manual. Has envelopes, but I'm sure I can't make them long enough. Let's see. There's an audio playback and audio recorder. I don't know if that means that you could use it for CV. I would think so, because I think audio is harder to record than CV, but there's something about like being AC coupled versus DC coupled or something like that as it relates to doing things with CV and audio, right? I don't know if that makes a difference. To Google. Disting CV. Oh, no, knob recorder. That's for recording what you're doing with disting. Okay. Well, some people seem to suggest that that the disting audio recorder would do it. Oh wait, no, the assimilator can record CV. Right. What did I do? Just a second. Headphones is being all clicky on me. Okay, so I could record it in a simulator. That means I could also have the 2 tracks. Okay, let's try this. This is exciting. I've never done this before. Okay, let's try it for the bipolar value here. I'm gonna need a longer cable. Still almost out of cables, but I only have my ultra long ones. Yeah, but then if I use a simulator, I can have 2 separate tracks. So that'll work great. So we'll take that into the sample input. We'll go sampling setup. We'll sample into channel 5. Left only. I think there is a, yeah. Crap, is it DC coupled or AC coupled do you want for CV stuff? I always forget. Google. DC or AC coupled for CV. DC is more like control voltage. All right, so I want this in. Oh, interesting. Oh no, I changed it, didn't I? No, wasn't DC coupled. Is that right? I might have been having this. I might have been doing recordings in a simulator in the wrong mode the whole time. Interesting, because I've never recorded. I think it was in DC. So, okay. Threshold side. We just want. No, let's not confuse things with dual mono right now. Now how is this gonna work? It seems like it only records CV. I don't know, you probably can only just barely see it, but watch the bar. I don't know that it records negative CV. It might only be able to handle positive CV. But let's, just to be sure. No, yeah. You can definitely tell that DC coupled is the right way. Okay, let's just see. Let's just see if this can even record it in the first place, because I have no idea. Okay. This is gonna start recording immediately, so. Stop sampling. Okay. 1000 channel 5. So. Now I could take this from channel 5 and conceivably stick it where where this pink one was, yeah. Okay. So what happens? Oh, it totally worked. It totally worked. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's something I've never done before. That was cool. So we've got recorded CV, and that was elongating the gates as things were going on. The only problem is that it definitely does not do negative voltage. So that sucks. But this idea could also work for the let's trigger the random skip. Let's see. Yeah, it totally works for random skip. It's maybe a little abrupt, but that's okay. Well, it's really hard to see the lights on Pam's to see because it's buried behind all these cables here. I can barely see it, but that does work. However, yeah, the only problem is, so that Pam says 2 CV inputs, one that's positive only, one that's positive negative. And I don't, yeah, I pretty much need to somehow be able to, in PAMs, say, for the random skip, I want the invert of this value, and for gate length, I want the non-inverted version of this value, which it can't do. So, oh well. That was ridiculously interesting anyway. I've never actually thought about using a simulator as a CV recorder, but it totally makes sense. Like in some ways I wouldn't even need, because I've been considering about whether I want to get a Zadar or what I want to put down here when I get a smaller version of Marbles. My first thought was to have 2 chained copies of Maze, but I don't know about that. But if you can just use knobs to generate your own custom envelopes essentially and save them into a simulator and just play them back as tracks that way, covers a lot of what I wanted out of Zadar. Not all of it, because it could do like then loop them as an alpha. Well, I guess you could do the same thing here. I could set that into loop mode and just have it play CV back forever in a loop. Man, well, this has been informative. By the way, if any of you have a suggestion for a decent modular vendor that makes cables that are one color or like you choose one color in a variety of different sizes, or lengths rather, that aren't like astronomically expensive. If you're in Twitch chat, let me know. If you're watching this later, leave a comment, because one of these things I'm realizing about what I'm gonna have to do to get this all ready tomorrow is that if I just had one color of cables for different things, it'd be so much easier. But I have these multicolored cable packs, and so they're like, I'm probably going to have to get my label maker out and label each cable individually for tomorrow to be able to patch this back together. So yeah, ridiculous. Anyway, that was an interesting experiment. I'm just gonna take out what we had here so that I can reclaim these cables. We'll definitely want them later. I still need that one. Take that one. Very long cable. Yeah, I don't think I really have any other ideas of what to do with this. I'm pretty happy with this for something that I can play out. Hopefully they will let me record it. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I don't know either. Without like recreating a whole bunch of different sounds, I don't have the cables for that, and like everything is really in a good space. So. So yeah, unless any of you all have anything you want to see, I'm also happy to patch up some different stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of subbing for that, but it gets faded out as time goes on, right? Most of the track will probably be with this on, and I'm definitely going to keep messing with the degree and interval here on Telharmonic. I need to write down what all the degree or the interval settings are, because there's a bunch of them, but I suppose the only thing I could do is see what this sounds like through Lo-Fi Junkie. I might not like it, but let's just see. Right? Yeah, that would be nice to have. Okay, I don't know. You all tell me what you think. So this is full wet Lo-Fi Junkie. And now here's full dry. Wait, did I do something wrong there? There's like no difference. More depth, that's good, yeah. How does it sound on the... Yeah. Yeah, it definitely did. I feel like this isn't just another knob I can tweak, which will be good to extend things, where I can So I can start, as things get more complicated, I can start adding more of the warbliness. And let me just see when I drop it back to this and the first pattern. Just change the wave on Lo-Fi Junkie to a gate. Gives it a sort of broken sound. That's another interesting element to add for sure. Wow, that makes it really broken sounding. Okay, that's just a nice thing to, another switch to flip and add in every once in a while. Yeah, it's nice. I'll have to decide about whether I start like dry and start mixing in the junkie as things go on, but that was a good choice. That was a good addition for sure. Like just making sure again that in context it sounds good. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, about the only other thing that I could do to improve this now is to try to shunt more things through the Octatrack so that I don't have, or not Octatrack, jeez. Yeah, through the eurorack vase version of the Octatrack that I have here. No, the Octalink. The problem with the Octalink is that it's unpowered, so you can't send anything that would need to be buffered through it. It's really only particularly good for gates and things of that nature. Where else do we have gates that are going up? Did I get a roll of that big plastic wrap? Yeah, right. No, I got these are IntelliGel cases, so they got the nice lids that let me at least leave this half patch. I'll just carry it. I'm not going far, like the venue is like the 20-minute drive, so won't be too bad. All right, where else do I have gates? Let's see. I got clocks, but they're not going out anywhere externally. No. Where are you going? You're going. Nope. That one's good too. Where else have I got? I already replaced everything, almost everything on the planar, except for X and Y, so I could do that. Let's just see if the cable is stretched long enough. Nope. Would they stretch long enough here? Yes. Okay. Repatch that. Rat's nest. Hopefully it will go long enough. Let's see. Can go to 8, sure. And then this goes into 8. Wow, this is the most I've used this Octolink ever. Yeah. Those stackable cables are like, I've seen people have like 3 or 4 of them and they look dangerous. Like you just break them right off. I've actually been considering replacing the stackable cables I have with like, there's some cheaper ones that you can get that are just like a like an inline splitter. It's just like a Y cable essentially, which is pretty cool. It causes it to have less stack up, and I think it also might like make a nice, if eventually I have some sort of like more cohesive live setup that I don't change all the time, I could, there's like a nice spot in between the modules to like lay down stuff that's on Y cables very easily, so. Yeah, you do lose voltage with the stackables, yeah. So you wouldn't want to use it for pitch or things like that. Or audio, well, audio yes and no, but. I tend to use them mostly for CV that I don't really care too much about if it droops a little bit. Okay, so that got rid of a whole lot more of things that were getting patched across. What else have I got? This is just random CV that's going into the, so this can be moved as well. I'm gonna start using patch cable or stack cables because that's what I have left. That can go into 6, yeah. Yes, exactly like CVO. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, otherwise you do technically detune it a little bit. But I mean, sometimes that's a good thing. Could be nice to have a bit of detuning. Okay. Oh, I also have these 2 parts of planar too still, right? Oh. I only have 1 left. Why don't we make this simpler? This will still go into here so that it's clear for me that I have 1 module that needs to be patched up like that, and I can just leave planar alone entirely. That would be great. Okay, so I'll take the A output of planar. Very long cable now. So we're doing A into 6, and we do. The other one is D. D is into 7. Oh, come on, you can fit. I don't think this cable will make it. D. There we go. All right. Really, I do need to do the use all the modules in your rack challenge. I mean, the last live set that I did, that I just I didn't play it live, but I recorded it and improvised off that. That was, I think I did use every module except for Shifty in that patch. And I've now sold Shifty, so I basically used every module I had. Yeah, use all the modules you have. I have 1 module. It's the assimilator. I just press the buttons and trigger samples. could be very complicated that way. You could make some interesting sounds from samples. All right, that filled my whole Octalink, which is great. That's 8 cables that I don't have to remember where the hell they go. Perfect. How many cables do I actually have to remember where they go right now? 2, 3. 4-ish. 6. 7, yeah. 8. Oh, I didn't do all of the telharmonic, man. It's probably going to be like 10 to 15 cables, but I think I'm just going to get my label machine and just label all of them, because otherwise I'm never going to figure this out. Just the power module. You could do like the you know, the plug in a crappy USB device and have it hum, make a drone out of it. If you saw one of my previous streams, I have this little like light here that's attached to the webcam that I'm wiggling. And if I turn it on and get too close with this mic, let's see if it does it still. No, I don't have it plugged in, but it's like totally unshielded, and I can make all sorts of weird hums by like grabbing the light in different places. An old cell phone near speaker, yeah. Even a new cell phone these days, they still do it. Hold on. I'm gonna plug this in because I want to see if it still makes that weird sound. I'm sure it does. Oh yeah. Can you hear it? It actually works kind of well with this. Yes, it is. Actually, sometimes I've been able to get it more. Let's just see. The really interesting thing is, so this light has like different color temperatures, but listen. The different color temperatures are actually, I don't know, it must be something about the, I don't know, the frequency at which the light is going, or I don't know. I don't know if like about electronics, but it changes depending on the light. Now I feel like I'm playing a theremin here. I'm just like waving my hand around this thing. Actually, to be fair, the last time I went to the event that I'm going to tomorrow, one guy had a really interesting effect where he had an old pair of headphones, like the ones that you can, that DJs used to talk into because you could also use them as microphones. He had an old pair of headphones like that, and he had a powered amp that wasn't playing anything, but he was like working with a bunch of tape loops, but he would take these headphones and like sort of theremin them around by the power amp to get like the weird feedback from the headphones, and then like send that through a bunch of effects pedals and into his tape loops, and like it was actually really cool. We were all trying to figure out what the hell he was doing, like scratching around in front of his amp, and then we were like, oh, it's the headphone thing. I wonder, it's gotta be the microphone that's picking up. I'm just gonna mute the mic for a sec. I wanna see if it's somehow getting into the modular signal, because if it's getting into the modular signal, like this is another cool performance element. No. No, damn, it's the mic. With a microwave. What? Like, do they like turn the microwave on and like see what kind of sounds it makes at like different power levels and stuff? Because that's cool. Yeah, something. So it's a light show and a sound show. Yeah, there is a radio module. You're right. I've seen a bunch of stuff on that. You can tune it to whatever frequency you want and like sample a radio station or stuff like that. Unfortunately, the mic that I'm using now, I've switched things around a lot. Now I'm using a little lapel mic, but it's XLR and like requires phantom power, so I can't just like drop it into the modular and have the same effect. But I wonder if I could. Yeah, the only thing that I could do is it goes into my little Zoom H6. If I stopped recording or stopped sending all the other audio channels, I could record it out through the Zoom and into the assimilator and then have it as a sample to play back. But I don't think it would be as nice as a sample because it's too static. I had considered getting one too because I was just curious about what sort of things it would happen, but then I had a friend come over and we set up a radio in the room that I'm in right now, and it's a little bit underground and it doesn't pick up any radio signals at all, so it's completely useless. I go, the mic is XLR into the Zoom, and then I just come out of these, out the line out from this IntelliGel case just via little patch cables. I don't think they're even TRS. I think they're just TR patch cables into the H6. Yeah, I would definitely suggest you test where you're going to be doing it before you with another radio before you drop the money. That's interesting. Does the static have a different like quality than just like white or pink noise? I guess it must. Or are they talking about like the sort of sound you get when you're like tuning between stations? You get little like blips of stuff and then static and all that kind of thing. Save my damn preset. So otherwise I will forget, and I should save what I did here. What? Why aren't you going down to the... There we go. Okay. I see. Right, yeah, the little bit of ghosting, so you've got like somebody, it almost sounds like they're whispering in the background or whatever, yeah. All right, well, I think that I probably got to get going here. Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe they will let me record tomorrow, maybe they won't. I don't know. Hopefully, if so, expect a video of that. If it ends up being just me anyway. If it's a jam session, I probably won't record it. So. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I am nervous as hell, but this has helped because I think things are in a good spot here. It shouldn't be able to fuck things up too badly. Okay, let's just have a quick peek and see if anyone else is around here for me to send you to. Oh, there's lots of people. There's lots of people. Oh, you found it. Okay, excellent. I will copy that down. Thank you. And I will send you to another place where you can learn fun stuff, which is this gear-splaining show. So, have a good one, everybody. And I will talk to you on Saturday, hopefully.